Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome to Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast with your hosts Doug Macedo, Jim Roberg, Ginger Mudson, and David Tilley.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast. I'm your host Doug, and today we've got a special guest with us. His name is Jim, and Jim and I have been talking so far quite some time, and I'm going to allow Jim to introduce himself, and we're going to go and let it ride.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Coast Guard and my service. Just to give you a little bit on my background, I retired from the Coast Guard with a little bit over 27 years of active duty, 31 years total. Started off in 1985, going to boot camp in Cape May, New Jersey. Did a stint in the Coast Guard Honor Guard, our version of like 8th and I, or the old guard for the Army.
Yep.
Went on a ship. Got lucky. Went to the academy. Had some great assignments after the academy. My first one was actually on a buoy tender out of Honolulu, Hawaii.
Wow.
Where I was a navigator and assistant diving officer. And we basically went to South Pacific Islands and worked on aids to navigation, and then dove. So the stuff people were paying top dollar for, we were getting paid extra to do it.
Wow.
Went from there to a little unit that used to work out of South and Central America with the host nation forces. Learned a lot. Great job. From there, went to ops or department head on a 378 out of Charleston, South Carolina. Great ship, and 4 different COs. Learned a ton. Fantastic crew. There, went to graduate school at a Defense Intelligence Agency. And then from there, went down to Miami for a couple of years. Had a couple different jobs down there in Intel. Nice part about Miami for our Coast Guard Intel guy is that whatever direction you throw a stone, eventually you're going to hit a bad guy with a boat. A lot of very, very active environment. There, I went to my XO ride on Tahoma up here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I actually moved the ship from New Bedford, Mass. to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Did a couple of years there. Went down to Boston for 3 years. Did a year in Port-au-Prince as the chief of the military liaison office. And then came back to Tahoma as CO. 2009. From Tahoma, I went out to Fort Meade, and then from Fort Meade, I went to Coast Guard Pacific area in Alameda, California, and then I finished up my Coast Guard career in, believe it or not, in San Antonio, Texas. Kind of working with the U.S. Border Patrol and Office of Field Operations, and Homeland Security Investigations. Fascinating job. Learned all about border security from San Diego to all the way through Texas. Really great learning experience. Met some fantastic people, and learned how complicated the world really can be outside the Coast Guard. Since the Coast Guard, I retired in 2016. Moved back up here to New Hampshire. I think I'm on job 5 or 6 now. I've done a little bit of everything. Worked for the private sector for a while. Worked as a contractor for a little while. Worked for the state of New Hampshire for a little while, and now I kind of landed in a great organization, the Defense Contract Audit Agency. I work on the support side, but you talk about a little organization that punches well above their weight. We audit the big guys and the small, the big and the small defense contractors. The whole thing costs the federal taxpayer about $660 million, and we return about $3.2 billion to the U.S. taxpayer.
Wow. Oh, that is a list. Man, that's a mouthful. I think it may even be more than a mouthful to take in. But I got to ask, because one of the first things that caught my eye technically caught my ear, is the dive team. So the dive team, was that where the big old suits, the funky looking suits that have like the big old helmet and the little glass for the eye, for the eyes to see out of? Is that the dive suits?
No, so we were all scuba divers. It was really kind of a low profile operation. There were 5 or 6 of us on the boat.
Yeah.
The crew was only about 65 people total.
Okay.
What you do is, so a lot of these remote South Pacific islands, you have the U.S. Coast Guard has ace navigation because these are U.S. territories. Yeah. But you can't get a boat in there because it's too shallow, or it's marking a reef where you don't want to take the vessel. So you have a dive team. What we used to do is we basically each buoy has a large sinker at the bottom. Yeah. And every year or two, you need to come in. You need to scrape all the critters off of it. You need to paint it. You need to make sure all the electronics work, and you need to restation it, make sure it's on station. Yeah. The dive team is basically doing a combination of taking the buoys off the sinker, taking them back to the boat, the small boat. The boat works them, and then we basically mount them back up. And then we did a lot of a lot of little odd diver jobs, like shifting legendary, like pulling lines out of screws and things like that. Yeah. Now I was thinking. Great operator in
Yeah, I was thinking one of the old fashioned divers. I believe it might have been the Navy divers, where they had the big old helmets, are all lead, the boots that were all lead weights that made them sink. Those are the ones. That was the movie I think that was just released or something. That the guy
Man of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Robert De Niro.
Yes, that's the one. That's the uniform I was thinking of. Is when he told him to stand and then walk, and it was like, holy crap, that's the diver. But really, a lot of the divers are just regular divers that are just in the normal, the wet gear and fins and stuff. That's cool. That's still that's amazing. That's a whole list of work you've done, experience that you have underneath your belt. My grandfather would always say, jack of all trades, but a master of nothing. But it's like, you've mastered quite a bit there.
One of the nice things about the Coast Guard is every other service you have kind of your MOS or your specialty. Yeah. And usually you stay within your specialty your entire career until you're fairly senior. Yeah. Nice thing Coast Guard is we kind of need people everywhere. So you get it, dude. You can go from what we used to call station vacation, like those Coast Guard stations on Martha's Vineyard.
Yep.
To a ship to doing something internationally. You can go over to Bahrain, or you can go over to the Western Pacific.
Yep.
Or you can go work out of an embassy.
Yeah, and I remember
that was the best thing about the organization is you never let grass grow under your feet in one place unless you wanted to.
Yeah, and I remember going up till Maine, and up in Bath, Maine, there was a bunch of Navy and Coast Guard guys stationed up there as well. I believe there was another station. I can't even think of it. It's out towards up towards Bangor, Maine, or something like that. Yep, Rockland. That's where it was, because it was a one-way in road and then a one-way out road. And they have a right there off in a building. It was the Coast Guard station. That's a long list. I just interviewed on another episode. The guy been in the Air Force now for almost 23 years of active duty time, but I think even with his reservists it was like 27. And he's been around everywhere. He was on C5s. He now is on the fighter group with the 104th Fighter Wing group out of Westfield. And it's absolutely amazing. And I wish I could have stayed in longer, but due to some of the my injuries, it was I was on a dead man's profile, so I had to pretty much ETS out, and that was it.
Never a good way to leave the organization.
Yeah, it stunk. I wish I could have done more, done it longer, but it was my time at that point to call it, and that was it. So my first question to you, is can you share some of the most significant challenges you faced during your time in the military, and how did you overcome them?
So I tell you what, let's go from the most challenging situation to some of the more, maybe a couple of a little bit of comic relief.
Yeah.
So the first one we were on, I think January 10th or 11th in 2010 when the earthquake struck Port-au-Prince.
Yep.
We were in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, fixing and sponsing on a small boat and taking care of stores. And we knew we were going to get tasked with going over there to provide humanitarian assistance, disaster relief. And we basically, I asked the crew, I go, listen guys, there's all kinds of medical supplies all over this island, all over this base. Go out and grab whatever you can, all right, because we're going to need it as soon as we get to Haiti. And the crew went out, and I don't know, the boat was literally stacked to the rafters with medical supplies.
Yeah.
And I was really amazed at what they did in a very short period of time. We got over there, and pretty much right away, we helped set up a trauma clinic at the Houston Coast Guard base. And I would say, there was a lot of ambiguity on what was going on. We didn't know what the security situation was in Haiti, how volatile it was. There wasn't a lot of intelligence, because pretty much everything had shut down. There was no cell phone, third-party messages in and out. And all we really had was basically we would try to watch like CNN when we could and try to get the stories from what they were doing. Spent about 10 days down there, just watching the crew kind of help out with people that were injured. Because we had everything from kids that lost both parents, didn't know if they were hurt or not. The guys who didn't need arms and legs amputated. To needing to do surveys on different port facilities in and around Port-au-Prince.
Yep.
Find out where we could get where good logistics points were for the relief supplies coming in. Through to a T. Pretty much all I did was point them in the right direction, gave them the resources they needed to do their job as best I could, and then gave them some confidence. This is one of those things: just trust your people, let them run.
Yeah.
They did some fantastic work. I think one of the funny stories. I'll let Greg tell you the one about me sending him into Port-au-Prince Airport to go get medical supplies, because that's pretty good. And the other one was we had a supply officer who was the classic, like for you guys a quartermaster, for us Suppo, just the meticulous supply officer knows where every penny is being spent.
Yeah.
Really good. And I sent him and a couple other people in the Port-au-Prince Harbor to go get some gasoline for the Haitian Coast Guard. And they go, he comes back, he goes, "Hey, Captain, they want to charge us $16 a gallon or something. It's just some ridiculous price for gas." I go, "Suppo, don't worry about it. Just get a receipt." He just goes, "Okay." But to him, that was just like, that's just a ridiculous price. This is a disaster.
Yeah.
We had some other, go to see some interesting things. We had one case where we came up on the speedboat, basically doing circles in the Florida Straits, and then he saw us and he made a beeline over towards us, and basically almost not really rammed us, but came at us pretty fast, bumped off of us, and basically jumped and ran up the Jacob's ladder. And he was like, "I'm so glad to see you guys." And he was American. And we're like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
And it turns out that he had actually been online with Maria. He was up in Virginia, and he had been online with Maria down in Cuba, and he was going to go rescue her. So apparently, this is how the story goes: is that this guy had bought a truck, drove down to the Bass Pro Shop in Fort Lauderdale, bought a boat, and then plugged in the coordinates into GPS, and then went down to a little port outside of Havana. And
Yeah.
It turned out that Maria wasn't Maria. It was basically the Cuban border guard setting this guy up.
Yep.
And so they rolled him up for about a week, left him in a Cuban prison, took all the electronics off his boat, and then said, "Hey, Gringo, get the hell out of here." So that was one of those ones that kind of like, we did not know what to make of that.
Yeah.
The diving ops, it was fun. We had one buoy that we were working in a place called Johnson Atoll when it was still a chemical weapons disposal facility.
Yeah.
This was funny. So we're working on this one lake, and it's probably about 25, 30 feet of water. And I'm working with this guy named Clark. And we're basically facing each other, and I look over Clark's shoulder, and there's a shark, and it's a big shark. And this is like right at sunset, and the shark, he's doing this, he's doing like this twitching, kind of back and forth, like he's getting ready to come after us.
Yeah.
I tap on Clark, like, "Look," and he just gives me his first look, like, "What? We're trying to get out of here, man. We got to work on this thing." And then I go, "Look," and he goes, turns around, and I swear to God, he was up and in the boat by the time I turned my head back to him. Here I am all alone, just all alone in about 30 feet with this, I think it was probably 10, 12 foot tiger shark. And just, I just kept the chain between him and me as I slowly went up. So I didn't want to embolize.
Yeah.
And then I got up there, and I probably got about 5 feet from the boat, and I literally shot up, and all my gear on and everything went right over the gunnel, just going right back into the boat.
That's crazy. That is nuts, man. Oh man, I probably would have been a whole lot scared than that. Seeing a tiger shark. Even me, growing up near the ocean, I I see stuff like that, and I'm like already spooked. So it goes into the next question is, how was your military experience influenced your approach to being a leader, as well as teamwork in both your professional and your military career?
So, it's funny when you retire, kind of hindsight's a lot. You would have done a lot of things.
Yeah.
And towards the end, I really kind of took on the philosophy of bad news does not get better with time.
Yeah.
Make sure your people can talk to you. There were a couple other little things I used to have. One of them, I'm trying to think what the other ones were. You got 2 ears and one mouth. Always.
Yep.
As a leader, you should really be, you should be talking maybe half the time, and of that time you're talking, you should be asking a lot of questions. The other one was, one of the things I probably learned later on in my career was always assume noble intent. Always assume people are trying to do the right thing for the right reasons.
Yep.
They just might not have the right information. This is one of those things. You come up and maybe you're a little cynical sometimes. Because I think your XO tour kind of makes you cynical.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like seeing the underside of the organization. You got to deal with the guys who don't want to go on patrol, and you got to deal with all the personnel issues.
Yeah.
Really, you got to kind of look at it like, assume people are trying to do the right thing for the right reason, and always ask them, why did you decide to do that?
Yeah.
And I would say probably 19 out of 20 times they based on their perspective, they had a good reason to do it.
Yeah.
And you got to find out, and then if you know better, you explain to them, hey, this is why we do it this way in this organization. It's like when it's funny. When I went back to SEAL on the boat, we had this, every time we had an alien migration interdiction operation, you come up on these Haitian freighters, and you only see like 20 people on deck, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody goes down below and hides when they see the Coast Guard ship, because they don't want to get, they don't want to get stopped.
Yeah.
So the crew was like, why are we going up, and why are we breaking? We run the drill. I said, why are we breaking everything out? Just like there's 200 people here. And the very first one of these that we got, that we actually came up on in real life, they're like, they come up, hey, it's like a 45-foot sail freighter, looks like there's maybe 20 people on deck. And as we get closer, probably 40, 50 people on deck. As we get a little closer, there's more people than I can count. And all of a sudden, it's like it made more sense to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay? Sometimes you got to really kind of explain, okay, this is why we're doing these things.
Yeah.
And then if you sometimes we weren't they weren't follow procedures exactly.
Yeah.
I'd be like, why did you guys do that? And they go, well, on scene, this is what I saw. And Coast Guard is really good because we really try to encourage on scene initiative.
Yeah.
And it was good to see the young guys. It's like, okay, this is what the procedures say, but if I work exactly by the procedures, it's going to make this situation worse, and it's going to put people at risk. Yeah. They would do something different.
Yeah. It totally is, and it's I've always when I was in going back to the 2 years in one mouth, as a lower enlisted, you got to keep your mouth closed and just use the 2 years, because that's really what we need to be doing and learning, because really once the higher up command, usually the company commander, first sergeant, question, and usually the platoon leaders, once they're done talking, then usually that's when we, could use our mouth to then go ahead and start asking questions. As I was always told, there's no stupid question. There's only, stupid things that you're gonna do because you didn't ask the question. So you're better off just asking the question so that you're not making, a fool out of yourself, and as well as out of your squad or out of your platoon. Then as you progress going on into the, NCO and stuff, that's when, you're doing a lot more talking, but still you're doing a lot of listening, because again, you're not going to know everything. As they always would say too, is like, you need to know the two ranks above you, their jobs, as well as you need to know the two ranks below you, their jobs, so that everybody knows everybody's job, just in case, God forbid, something happens, you're able to take control of those missing positions that need to be filled. So that's what you learn when you're in the service, and it's one of the things I've always made sure I've taken with myself one of the things I've taken out of being in the service, I've taken with me everywhere. Another question for you is, what are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned in your military career, as well as your civilian career?
I guess for lessons learned. So you're always, one thing in the military, you're always in a training assignment for your next job.
Yeah.
So, and this it's funny. You look back at it. They're moving us every 2 or 3 years, regardless, right?
Yeah.
And your first year is learning your job, your second year is doing your job, and then your third year is teaching the new guy how to do the same job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if it's a 2-year assignment, it's a little bit shorter time frames, but you're always learning, and then you're teaching, and then you always learn more when you're teaching your job. When you're young, you do things. When you first die out, you kind of do things because you don't want to get your butt chewed.
Yeah.
Then you do it because it's the right thing to do, and then you do it because it's the right thing for the organization, and it makes sense because you're keeping people safe, and you're making sure that you're ready for the mission, and you're making sure your people are taken care of.
Yeah.
There's always a reason why. And one thing I learned in the military, there's always a reason why you do something.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to dig for it a little bit, and sometimes it happened. The reason why you're doing something happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it may not be may not be a good reason. So you got to ask those questions. We tend to do a lot based on precedents.
Yeah.
And sometimes that precedence is no longer. It's a different system. People are they're getting that training earlier in their careers, or the mission is no longer.
Yeah.
The thing I probably learned, the transition from the military, from service to the private sector or the civilian life, you take a lot of skills with you from the military, even though you can't translate those into a resume.
Yeah.
And mostly it's resilience and adaptability. And the ability to learn. It was great. I'm involved with an organization called Operation Sea Daddy for the New Hampshire Military Coaching License, and we had General Perkins come in. We talked about, a veteran's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Say as far as making, as far as hiring somebody, even if they don't know the job, they're going to be able to figure out the job.
Yeah.
If you sit them down and you say you have to get this done, they'll figure out the best way to get it done.
Yeah.
Just reading the manuals, talking to people, or just working. The other thing I found is that in the private sector and even in government where I'm at now is you're promoted based on your technical ability, not necessarily on your leadership ability.
Yeah.
I used to have a graph when I was XO and CO in Oklahoma. So kind of like as your career progressed, you're less worried about the technical side of your job and you're more worried about the leadership side of your job.
Yeah.
You know, to where you get to a certain rank, and it's probably nothing about the technical side. You're at that point untrainable because you're starting to question the manuals and you're starting to write the manuals and you're starting to write procedures. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the private sector, it's not necessarily that way, or even in a lot of government, it's not necessarily that way. They very much pride themselves on being able to do everybody's job below them, whereas they should just be kind of booting everybody up, to, hey, listen, I'm here if you need help.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm going to make sure the group is they're well trained. There's no morale issues. They like what they're doing. If they don't like what they're doing, I need to find out why and correct them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of the things I've seen too is a lot of the guys. It's like, after they've done, pretty much as they're teaching the new new soldiers that are incoming. They've pretty much. They're now, teaching the new recruits that are coming in, and then usually it's like, as a group, we're all like, as you were saying, you're learning still, because again, you may not know something or you may have forgot something along the way, and now you're picking it back up, or you're just learning it, and it's like, wait, I don't even remember that, but that's actually a good way, how like analogy to use it or whatnot, and then usually again it goes back into, I had an opportunity to do signal support, which I started learning how to do some of that stuff, but I never really went on to getting that MOS. I was just something that I was kind of wanted to pick up as I was in, which was kind of neat. But I wish I probably did the signal support and went to schooling for it. But as much as I learned, it was still neat to learn that, and I just wish I probably would have done more to get that experience, because again, learning new things, it's just another notch under your belt. Even as my grandfather says, more stuff you're worth more and you're more valuable. Which nowadays it's, being in the civilian life, it's that way now, because it's like, I've got my Class A CDL license, I've got all my endorsements from tanker, hazmat, Twix card, I've got my hoisting license from, front loaders, excavators, forklifts, stuff like that. Which makes me more valuable.
Yeah. So you're an asset now.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, you probably don't say no either when your boss asks you to do something.
No, usually I don't. It's 9 out of 10 times I will just, be the yes sir, no problem, gotcha. Which that's...
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how many bosses just want an easy button?
Absolutely, because they'd rather go to that easy button to say, hey, can you do this? And they've got that person that's be like, yep, absolutely, gotcha. Because then they know that's who they can rely on. Because they'd rather have someone that they can rely on than someone that they are like, oh, are they going to even, take the call, or are they going to even come in? Which it's very valuable nowadays. It's always good to be that one. because it's not
I'll
good.
tell you what, that's the nice thing about hiring a veteran too. They show up, they're on time, they're ready to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean,
They might not have the technical background, but they're reliable.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the number one thing. It's like, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, it's no reason. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah. It's funny, my daughter's in the Maritime Academy right now. And she was going through like their version of their version of boot camp.
Yeah.
Both my wife and I are academy graduates. And she calls up my wife and she goes, I understand why you guys are so persnickety about being on time for everything.
Yeah.
They yell at us for late. I'm like, yeah, welcome.
Well, yeah.
Real world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like we never walked anywhere. We ran. And it wasn't like a fast-paced, walk run. It was sprinting there and there, here and there. It was constantly, and that's the way I try to install with my kids now. It's like I want them to know that it's like when we tell you to come here, it's like come here. It's not, let's yell from one room to the other, because that's not what real world is about. The whole, what the world's about is, you go straight there and, take care of whatever it is and find out what the plan is, not yell from, the first floor to, first floor all the way going up to the fifth floor. No, you need to go there, it's get it squared away before, anything else. Another thing I try to install with them is, the best thing to do is when you first get up in the morning is to make your bed so that you can feel that you've already accomplished something. So
I'm craving.
It's it's already accomplished and you've already accomplished something in the beginning in the morning. So it just makes the rest of the day easier and stuff. So. Those are the things that I try to install into my kids, and hopefully they will carry it on and relay it to their kids if they have kids later on. Because it's something that it's just going to better an individual. I don't expect to bounce a quarter off their beds like I had to be expected to when I went into the service. It's at least it's just make the bed, make it look presentable. So it's those kind of things, and it's definitely been a pleasure talking with you so far, Jim. I really do. I do appreciate you taking the time and talking. I would say probably my last question for you would be, how do you navigate unique dynamics of being in the military or being as a military veteran and being a family man? And the second question with that is, what strategies do you use to maintain a strong connection with your spouse and your kids? With the demands of your career that you are working.
So I guess the first thing is, as a veteran, one of the challenges that people have when they leave whatever organization is they're used to working a long week on one job. And when you come out and you go into another work, another job.
Yep.
I'd say very rarely will you find that same level of dedication, that same level of effort that you need to put into a job, or the same work ethos and camaraderie.
Yeah.
So what you do is you find yourself, you definitely find yourself questioning, why did I get out, this type of thing. What you have to do is, find ways to keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
So I stay connected through to the Coast Guard a few different ways. I'm a Coast Guard Academy admissions partner, so I interview potential cadets. That keeps me kind of connected to the service, and then there's also other things I do with military veterans, like the New Hampshire Military Coaching Alliance, where we try to help veterans find the right job.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of organizations out there that they help a veteran find the right job and find a job.
Yeah.
We try to help them find the right job by connecting them with business leaders in the New Hampshire Seacoast all the way up to New Hampshire. If somebody's coming in from Mass or from Maine or Vermont, we're not going to turn them away. We'll find a way to make it. I find that those two avenues are kind of my way of staying connected to the veterans and the military and the military organizations as well as the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
The other thing is that your job is more likely going to be more about income than it is about mission.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to put something in your life that makes it about mission. Okay. So for myself, this is I'm a court-appointed special advocate / guardian ad litem.
Yep.
Kids in foster care. I find that CASA GAL program, the CASA GAL volunteers, is a really good way to have something that people are dependent on to do your job.
Yeah.
Because you're going into court, you're an equal party in court. You have some very sticky situations with families that you work with.
Yeah.
And you really kind of have to, you and your program manager really kind of have to be on the ball and present a clear and coherent argument to the judge on why your recommendations are the right recommendation.
Yeah.
The other thing I find is that a lot of these kids have suffered a lot of trauma, kind of that fight or flight / you know that sensation of when you start praying, hey God, you get me out of this, I'm going to do X afterwards.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids have been through similar situations at a very young age, and veterans can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. You have to do something. You'd be surprised at how many of these kids, they'll tell you stories. Once they open up to you, they'll tell you stories.
Yeah.
And a lot of veterans, especially I would imagine the guys in combat, really relate to those.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that. You need those things to be a better husband and father, because you've left something where you're dependent on. Yeah. And now you're going to something where you have a lot of times too much time on your hand. You have too much time to think about the way things used to be. That, to me, that's the best way. Stay busy, stay focused, and then between that and the demands of your family, you usually
Yeah.
Some people will disagree. Me personally, I like being busy. I like being productive. That makes me I think that should answer both of those questions.
It does. It absolutely does, and it's definitely you've given a lot of points that I'm taking away from this, because again, this is as being one, a veteran, two, being a parent, as well as three, being in the civilian world. I've got so much I still need to learn, because as my grandfather would say, again, I go back to my grandfather, it's like I'm still wet behind the ears. I'm still learning. I've still got so much to learn, in my life, that I still, I'm able to provide to my kids and and be able to try to teach them certain things in certain ways. But I'm still learning myself on how to better myself as a father, but better myself as a husband, better myself as a friend, as well as better myself as a veteran advocate, because there's so much stuff out there that myself I can do, as well as do for my family and my kids. So it's definitely been a pleasure talking with you, Jim, and I definitely wish you the luck with everything that you have going, and your endeavors that you have going, and wish your daughter luck with the Maritime Academy, because I know some people have gone through it, and it's very it's intense, but they're going to have a lot ahead of them if they want to be able to be a captain of a big vessel. That it's those vessels. I've seen Captain Phillips. I've seen that stuff, and I'm just like, holy cow, that's just absolutely amazing. And that's an opportunity for them, and wish her luck, and all of her classmates. So until next time.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you around here soon.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you for supporting Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast. Please make sure to like and follow Homeland Heroes on all of their social media outlets. Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast is a Foo Bar Studios Sinister One co-production.